Hi, I'm Chris Lonsberry, and this is the first ever video for Chris Lonsberry Media. I've been planning on doing this video for a while, but when somebody asked the question, I thought I'd use it as motivation to get it done. So, Lynn, here's your answer. I'm always looking for a great picture, and I love those on-bike shots, whether they're video or stills, that capture the feeling of riding in the middle of the action. Now, there's nothing new about these types of shots. People have been doing them for decades. But this is how I've approached it and what I've learned along the way. I've done some still shots with the GoPro. The wide angle lens is pretty awesome. But being such a wide angle, everything looks really far away. And I've never really found a still picture from the GoPro could compete with my DSLR. I've always had a cell phone on me, but when you're going down the road at 60 miles an hour, it's a little awkward to handle and navigate, especially if you're wearing gloves. And between how expensive it is and how awkward my grip is, I'm just a little terrified that I'm going to drop it. For a few years I used a point and shoot. I had an Olympus. That was a decent camera for its class. I noticed that when you cropped and zoomed on the computer, the pictures got very blocky. And blue skies tended to be washed out. There was no way to add density filters or polarizers. The pictures were okay, but not even close to a professional level. So at some point I swapped out my Olympus for a Nikon Coolpix. Again, decent camera for a point and shoot, but it wasn't a whole lot better than the Olympus. And I really think it was just the sensors in the cameras. I don't think they're capable of doing the kind of shooting I want to do. And neither camera would let me shoot raw pictures. They only supported JPEGs, and I really like shooting raw. I tried the Canon PowerShot SX20. Still lacked a lot of the detail I was looking for, and it still wouldn't let me shoot raw pictures. And it's larger than my point and shoot. So it's kind of hard to navigate. Now, one thing to mention is that cameras are made for right-handed people. The shutter button is over on your right hand. If you're using your right hand to use the throttle, you can't really spare it that easily. Some people do it, but if you're riding tightly in a group and need to maintain that spacing and that control over your throttle, it's not really an option, or it makes it very difficult at least. So with the point and shoots, I could grab the whole camera. With the Canon SX20, it was a little harder to get all the way across it. Enter the DSLR. I have a Canon 40D, which is a very capable camera, but it's the oldest Canon model that I have, and I generally don't take it on shoots. If it fell off the bike and became road debris, I'd be a little sad, but not devastated. I'd be most upset about it losing a perfectly good memory card. But now we're talking about an even bigger camera, and a heavy one. It's very heavy. Well, after looking around, I found a DSLR handheld pistol grip with a remote trigger. It's made by Goja for $20 on Amazon. Now, I went up there and looked, and it doesn't look like they're selling them anymore, but there's a lot of alternatives up there that are very similar. So there's a button on the side that would put the shutter into continuous shutter release, and you can't have that every time I'm grabbing the camera. So I just Gorilla Glued that thing. I already had the cable that would plug in to the grip to go to the camera, so that was all in place. With the camera and grip attached to my fast fire strap, which I love, it hangs down next to my hip when I'm on the bike. I think the weight of the camera actually helps me in this case because it really didn't blow around at all. It rolled a little bit, but it was pretty easy just to feel my way around the camera and find out how it was oriented so that I could find the handle, pull it up, and take the shot. Looks a little bit like a radar gun, doesn't it? I should go stand out by the road and play games. The biggest problem I had while I was out is that I kept knocking this strap out, and I think a little bit of electrical tape just to tie it back and keep it out of my way is exactly what's needed. I think that's an easy fix. So for settings, since it was my initial time out, I just let the camera do the work, put it on program mode and auto ISO and let it do its own thing. The focus was set to servo focus, and I had high-speed continuous shoot turned on because you can't really aim very well, accurately. You can't tell what's in your viewfinder if you're just pointing it like a gun. I wanted to make sure I got plenty of shots so that if one was slightly out of frame or out of focus, I'd have plenty others. As it turned out, I really didn't need all of them, and I think going with the slower continuous focus will work just fine, because the high-speed the high-speed continuous shoot rather, just killed the battery really quick. Like I said, I went through about 550 pictures in an hour trip, and that wasn't shooting a lot. That was just shooting things I wanted to see. So I think next time what I'll do is force the ISO into 100 instead of 400, where most of my pictures were. And I might try and speed up the shutter just a little bit and see if the picture is still light enough to be able to get a decent picture. Shooting in RAW mode, it really shouldn't be a problem, but we'll give it a try. The other option is with the new Canons coming out, and with one of them on my shopping list, I may move my Canon T4i Rebel down to this roll. It's significantly lighter. It's got a higher resolution and a newer image processor, all of which are good things. So we'll see how that works out. I'm pretty comfortable using this setup though. I don't think it's going to fall off the bike. I don't think it's going to cause me to wreck. It's not a huge distraction unless I'm plugging this cable back in all the time, which is kind of like texting when you drive. So that's the setup. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.